What if I told you that those behaviors that you do not like, whether that's binge eating, overexercising, or being highly critical of yourself, actually were protective mechanisms that you need to have curiosity and compassion for? Well, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the one thing you can do to stop any behavior and begin to recreate that behavior in a way that is in alignment with your goals through compassion and curiosity. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
When you get curious, or no, when you get, what is
Cut that, Ira. Don't cut that, Ira. When you get critical, you get curious and compassionate.
Oh,
For those of you new to this podcast, we like to talk about our lives, babies, dogs, reality TV. So if you want to jump ahead to the conversation, please check out the show notes below.
you had something else you were going to tell me. Do you remember? Because I don't.
So I judged the Arizona Sidewinders.
How was it?
So for those who aren't from here, so we have an arena football league called the Arizona Rattlers, and they have a dance team called the Sidewinders. And I was asked to judge it.
You were very busy this
weekend.
last week.
I had a great weekend. And it was so much fun. Like,
What'd you wear?
I wore a black bodysuit with these pants that almost like cross right here, but they look like business pants and they're kind of loose, but then cut off at the ankle, and then heels, and then a blazer.
Okay.
And then I had a braid. I looked good. Yeah. Well, that was what they put on the invite, business attire. So it was myself, the makeup artist for the team, who's my friend, 3 of the hairstylists for the team. And let's see, another gal who is a fitness model in New York. She just did a Garmin commercial. So we chatted, and I want to say a couple other gals who are like ex
That's
dancers.
a lot of judges.
Oh yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of judges.
Why is there a need for that many?
Just for diversity. Well, also too. So the 2 gals that were there were actually a part of their marketing team. A lot of them already have relationships with some of the girls, whereas like myself and Ashley, who was the fitness influencer, we don't know any of them. And so we don't have any relationships. So like one of the veterans, I didn't score very high, and everyone else did because they knew she was a veteran. And I was like, no, like she's sloppy, And so
did that cause like conflict?
No.
Oh,
no.
Damn.
No one. We were actually just laughing the whole time, and everyone was so awesome. We got along so well. So you come in, they had these bags for us. So I had like a Rattlers bag, goodies bag. They gave us crumble cookie in the bag, and like shirts from the Rattlers, and like signed posters from the team. And then we had our scoring sheet, and then went in, we saw a like more like a sideline, which is more of like a shorter dance compared to like a performance dance where they would do like in the middle of the field. And so we judged both of those. So you have dance 1, dance 2. Dance 2 is a little bit more stylish and technical. And then you just score. I won't give away the bet behind the scenes because they prefer we don't do that, but you score on a certain score, and they tally those up. We go back, we say who are the absolute yeses and then who are the maybes. And then we have them come back out so we can see those maybes again.
So yeses go, they're done.
Nope. Everyone stays. They don't, nobody knows anything until the end. So now they're finalists. So we cut it down to the finalists. They had interviews yesterday, which I wasn't a part of. And then she'll cut for the final team on the 2nd.
What do they do in the interviews? Just like personality interviews?
Well, they have to represent the brand.
Okay.
Like when I tried out for the Cardinals back in the day, I got to the interview process
with your braces,
with my braces,
bitch.
And that's literally when we had the conversation about my braces when I was getting them off. So they want and that was the cool thing, is they're so big on like the community aspect and like representing the Rattlers. And it's not, you would think it'd be so appearance focused.
Yeah.
And while yes, that's a part of it, it was very much like personality, how they get along with other people, and their like work ethic and drive. Like some of the girls had tried out multiple times.
Oh, really?
Like for multiple years in a row. Yeah.
So I got a question for you because I don't even know how you do this. How many girls are there like in front of, is everybody in front of you at once, or is it one at a time?
So there's groups that they try out in. And they'd already cut it down because they had gone through another, like a kind of vetting process. So I believe there was like 35
women.
Yeah.
And then they're in groups of like 5 or
like
7?
3.
3. Okay. So, so you're watching 3, 3, 3.
Correct.
And so what are you looking at because you said one girl was sloppy and.
So I'm going to look at obviously like how in control they are of their moves, their facial expressions, obviously like how sharp they are, how they can extend their moves. Cause a lot of people won't extend a move. So they'll kind of like, their arm will be straight like this. Yeah. When we went like, I can't do it with my microphone. Like almost the way you teach it in dance is like, you're going so beyond this finger, like reach, and like,
why is that important?
It's just the way that,
like the art
technically what we need to be doing. We don't want this kind of, so I'm reaching here, like that's like looks a little lazy, but on stage, if I'm reaching here, like look at how much further I went. So the extensions, their technique, their even they had freestyles. So what was their choice of freestyle? Facials was a big deal to me because some girls were more cheer facials than dance facials. And cheer facials are kind of like A-E-I-O-U. So A-E-I-O-U. Like that's what they do. Okay? Where dance is like smile and like woo, and whatever.
Did they teach you that like in classes? Like when you're
back in the day, they did. I don't know if they're still doing it, but it was just smile and dance, whereas cheer was like A-E, So
so strange
how sharp they are, their energy levels, how they're keeping up with the choreography, because the way that they learn the choreography is how they're going to learn it in season.
Okay.
So they get it, they have it for a week, and then they need to perform it. So seeing how they are able to, catch on and perform. Their statue, their physique, of course, is a part of it. But again, no one told me that. I'm just thinking about their comfortability and the uniform. And then the cool thing is there are, and you can see this on like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, Netflix, where they will look at the team and they say, okay, this one's going to have a little bit more auburn in her hair. This one's going to have a little bit more red. And that's why the hairstylists are there, so that they have this synchronicity. People will change their look completely. Yeah. Not just on the rattlers. That's known
in general. So you said something like they didn't tell you that you were judging on body too. Do you think that was a missed opportunity for you or a good thing that you didn't have that in your mind?
They didn't not say it.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're judging something like that, like their turnaround time is pretty quick. So you're thinking they need to be season ready.
Okay.
They need to be game day ready.
Okay. Like tomorrow they're going to be
right. If they need to go perform tomorrow, they need to be game day ready. So that's kind of the idea.
Okay.
So I naturally am going to think about, and honestly, I think the vetting process cut this down. So there wasn't a lot of that
concern,
right? It wasn't as, there wasn't just some gal who didn't have any experience coming in. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't like, I'm going to go try out for the side.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So I know there's an aspect of it, but what I loved about it is there's a lot more diversity in bodies.
Okay.
Tall bodies, short bodies, thicker bodies than when I was doing it.
Really?
And that made me really happy.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause when I was doing it, you basically had like a carbon copy of a body and
hopefully everybody's the same. And
right. And
it's so funny you say that. I can go ahead and I want to tell you about Gossip Girl.
Like some of the gals had like thick thighs like us and we're shorter, and when you're shorter and they weren't petite girls, and I loved it. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Love that.
So it's interesting you brought up the body thing. So I'm rewatching I've never seen Gossip Girl. I'm watching Gossip Girl and sometimes they have them in like bras and undies and stuff. And it's so interesting because it's like, oh yeah, that was the look where it's like these like wide hips and like almost protruding hips and no structure to the stomach. Like, so like no abs or anything too. And I'm like, oh, that's like where they just look like almost like the Twiggy style. I remember that was always a big thing growing up. Twiggy.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, wow. Like this show would not resonate in body styles because and I don't mean this like, in a negative light, but like, I'm like, there's no like diversity of cast. Like they're all white kids.
Right.
I think Vanessa was the only one that might have had some ethnicity.
I don't know who.
Yeah.
I've never watched.
Okay. It's not worth it.
Isn't it Blake
Lively?
Lively?
Yeah. I saved it for postpartum because I knew like it's one of those shows where if I don't see it for 5 minutes, I still can watch, like catch on to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I watch it a lot if I'm like breastfeeding her at night. Michael and I will watch it because now he's invested.
Yes. It's always the best.
But yeah, I was thinking about that with the bodies in that they show. Like they're just like these big protruding hips, skinny, lean, no structure, like no muscle or anything. Or I'm sure they have muscle, but
and that's
not muscular.
You could tell there was a few gymnasts. I mean, these girls were ripped, like arms. I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was girls who were like fit, but there was I don't think I saw a 6-pack at all.
Oh,
yeah.
See, that's what I also like for clients and stuff. I'm like, you have to remember, like, this doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
Like, go out into the world.
Right.
Go out, get outside.
And these are like professional dancers.
Go to the mall. Like, because your image in your head is not what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And I see like even like CrossFit World, right? It's like, this is just one gym.
Right.
Go to 20,000 others and that is not happening.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And so it was good. And the director, the coach said, can you come in and talk to them?
Duh.
I was like, yes.
When? Sign me up.
Sign me up. Let's go. So I'm going to do a whole thing with the team.
What is going to be the topic?
I'm going to talk about body image.
Really?
And image in general, of being in the limelight and where your appearance is
your
the main
value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna have a whole convo on that, baby.
And funny, I have a program.
Yes, I have this program. Yeah.
So, it would almost be cool if you could take them through the methods, like in group, like a group cohort with it.
I'd love that.
Yeah,
because this team also feeds into the Cardinals, and then being able to do that with them, right? Yeah. They work with Chris Powell. That's their trainer. Is that
the weight guy, the big fat loser or whatever?
He did weight loss, extreme makeover weight loss edition. He's very
Was that the Jillian Michaels one too?
No, she did that was Biggest Loser.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris Powell.
So I think it would be such a benefit to these teams they do it with the athletes, the psychological aspect of things, being able to do it with the cheerleaders and these women who are, yes, they're putting themselves in a position to technically be objectified, but also they need to have certain boundaries and expectations of themselves and make sure that they're staying healthy.
Well, yeah, because they're not going to be a dancer forever,
right?
Too. So like, what's our long-term plan?
You know what's interesting about that? I have multiple people in my life that have been on professional teams. And the ones that their entire identity 10, 20 years later is being ex cheerleader. It's so sad to me. Whereas like one of my best friends, Tiffany, growing up, we cheered together in college. Like, yeah, she's like, yeah, I was a Cardinals cheerleader, but now she's like, no, I'm a mom. Like I do other things. And maybe she'll post a picture when she does like
it'd be like you being like, I worked at Santisi like forever,
I'm like, a Santisi girl.
Yeah, like forever. Yeah. It's the same thing.
No, I agreed.
Wow.
And some girls, like, they still have their picture up on their Facebook page, and like it's 20 plus years later. Where like Tiff, she will like on Veterans Day, she'll post this picture because she went and actually danced in I believe it was Iraq or one of those. Yeah, she was on the traveling dance because they have a traveling team.
Not to be confused with the like home game team.
Yes,
really?
Correct.
Okay, wow.
And they're usually more professionally trained dancers.
Oh, wow.
So and you have to try out for it. So she went and traveled the world with this dance team, and she'll post something like that, like Happy Veterans Day. It was such an honor to dance. Or they have like homecoming games where the ex dancers come in, and maybe she'll post something like that, but she's like, I have a new life. Like it's not my identity. Whereas other girls are like, that is my identity. It's crazy.
That's
and sad.
So
yeah. And then I started watching Traders again. You guys have to watch it. You will love it. So Traders, this is a 3rd season.
What is it on?
Peacock.
Out. We don't have the cocks of the peas.
Cocks of the peas. It's such a good show. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Traders. There's the loyal people who are like working together to discover the traitors.
Okay.
And if one trader ends up at the end, they win all the money.
All 3 of them win the money?
Just that whoever ends up at the end.
Okay.
So throughout the process, the loyals are trying to figure out who is the traitors. And then they have a round table where they kick off someone they think is a traitor. And then they say, I was a traitor, I was not a traitor. So they can kind of understand. But what I understand from this episode or this season is that they're not going to know who was a traitor and who wasn't until the end. Like I'm not sure if that's how it works, but they play these games and they have like these
Big
shields
Brother
and
meets Survivor.
Meets like, yeah, I would say
Real world road rules challenge.
Yeah, but it's not as
Gritty.
gamey. So that's the other thing. So you have like Real Housewives, you have like people from Bravo, you have people from the challenge, you have people from Survivor and Big Brother.
Who's on
and they're all trying to play.
Let's see.
And the cast is different every time. So like this season, you have like Wes from the challenge, you have Dorinda from Real Housewives, you have Sierra from you have Tom Sandoval from Vanderpump, Sierra from Southern Charm, or I'm sorry, Summer House. You have there was multiple housewives. Oh, you have Chriselle from Selling Sunset, Nikki Bella, one of the wrestler girls, the twins.
Nope.
Okay, so never mind. This is
I got Bob Harper.
Yes, Bob Harper from The Biggest Loser. So we started watching that, and we started watching Special Forces again, which is also similar, but it's basically taking celebrities and athletes through hell. Special Forces type of training.
I've seen commercials for that. How is that?
It's great.
Is it?
We really enjoy
it looks like a Fear Factor, but with Special Forces.
Yep. Well, they basically do take them through what these ops guys go through.
Dylan Efron is on it, like Zac Efron's brother. It's kind of odd. If someone was like, hey, Christina, I want to have the Real Housewives of Phoenix, would you be on it?
I mean, I'm not at that point in my life,
but
yeah, of course.
Okay.
Why?
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at like who's on this Real Housewives of Potomac.
Yeah.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Potomac's right outside of DC.
Tom Sandoval. Is Tom the one that was hooking up with the girls? That's how I know him.
Yep.
Bachelor Impaired. Yeah. That's about it.
I'm trying to think of anyone you would know. Did you watch Survivor, Big Brother?
I watched Survivor when Richard won, and that was like
Richard's on there.
Oh, is he? That was like the first season.
Wait, the like
Richard.
Old Richard?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he's not on.
No.
There's there are Robs that are on there.
Yeah.
Guys named Rob. So
and then
started watching that.
Okay.
And then also Wags, from Wags to Riches. So wives and girlfriends of sports people.
Yeah.
Wags.
Yeah.
I love it. We both watched it. And
Mark is such a slut for
He loves reality
TV.
He's the one who got me into it. And it's like how these women have built their own brands. And like,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's positive.
So it's called Wags to Riches because they're actually making the money. And even like Chad Ochocinco. Yeah. He's
got a lot of
fiance. He's got a lot of kids.
Oh, okay.
His ex-fiance now, it seems. I mean, she was making more money than him, and they went through because they were engaged, like the prenup.
Oh shit.
And like the alimony and like the percentage of his podcast business versus her real estate business. And I was like, yeah, girl, even though she's kind of a mean girl, but one of the girls on there is great. Her name is Portia, and her husband is like a professional boxer, and her husband, Amari Stoudemire's ex-wife, is on there too. She's real like cool and like down to earth and like clear-headed. But the boxers, she's just funny and like.
So what do most of these girls do? So you had the one with real estate,
and then a couple of them work for her. Fitness and tech, investments. What else? Clothing lines. Okay. One owns a boutique. But the real estate gal is like the biggest one. Yeah. I mean, Amari Stoudemire, Alexis, I believe her name is. No. Alexis is, her name is Alexis. I'm not sure what she does, but she was an ex-athlete herself.
Okay.
So, and she probably has the most money out of all of them. But it's interesting. Like Rick Ross's ex-chick is on there. Kodak Black's like baby mama's on there. So.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's like big names. Like Tyreek Hill is on the show. Chad Ochocinco, he plays for the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. Is he the one that got in the car thing?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Robbie Anderson, who is now Robbie Chosen. Of
course.
Chad Ochocinco, which was, what was his name before? Chad? I don't remember, but he's on there too.
Okay.
And then this boxer dude, Amari Stoudemire.
Are they proud of their wives?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, I'm
whatever.
going to support her and make money. She's going to make money. And it's just crazy. Like, and then there's this girl, her name is Yes Jules, who's Puerto Rican and white, but then like is like, she's worked for Kanye and all these other people, but she gets so much shit for a new word I learned, you guys, was a culture vulture, where she's trying to be black.
Oh, like a cultural appropriation.
Yeah. Where like she'll get like braids and stuff. And I'm like, well, if you're Puerto Rican, like Puerto Ricans get braids, right?
Well, and Puerto Ricans, I think, can be black.
Of black descent.
Yeah.
So
because slave trade went all throughout the world.
Yeah. So
well, speaking of unwanted behavior,
hey, we don't want to be culture vultures. Look at you. Yay.
Slide.
Today we're going to talk about this is going to be a weird segue, because we are talking about something that if you can begin to think about your behaviors in this way and use these steps, you will literally have a different experience with the behaviors that you have in your life that you're trying to rid yourself of. So I want to just start with the fact that when we're going to use binge eating. Okay. When someone's binge eating and they have a binge, they're usually not looking at that binge from the perspective of curiosity, nor are they looking at that binge from, well, what has this provided me in my life?
Yeah.
They're looking at it as, why can't I figure this out?
I just need to stop.
Yeah. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a failure.
I did it again.
Yeah. It's very negative. And they continue with that over and over again. And so that obviously isn't working for them. So I wanted to give our listeners an approach that they're not doing. I know no one's doing this. That we don't learn this anywhere. We, even in society, the latter is more common of, you did something wrong, you are like bad girl.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas you did something wrong, let's figure out why. And let's have some compassion to why you made that decision. And then next time make a better decision. And so this idea of curiosity and compassion, which you guys, we've touched on, is so, so, so important, because it's basically doing what we do in coaching in the moment.
Yeah.
In that moment, you become us in that moment and you learn your behavior. And I told my client the other day, I go, I want you to learn this behavior inside and out. Like, I want you to know every part of binge eating as if it's your best friend in the whole world, like your partner. You're having an intimate relationship with your binge eating. And we started doing it. That was just last week. But so
what's the benefit of doing that? Of like her being intimate with binge eating?
It gives you a sense of awareness.
Okay.
Not just awareness though, but when I can look at where where this behavior comes from, what is it protecting me from, or what is it avoiding?
Yeah.
So what is it avoiding, or what is it providing me? Then I can say, well, why do I need that? Well, I've never really received it throughout my life, which is basically what we're going to talk about. Then we're going inner child at that point. I've never received this. And that little part of me. And I think about we have different parts of ourselves. Like you have your binge eating part, and they have and for her, it's like her perfection, not perfection, but like doing it right part. Cause she'll do it right all day. And then that binge eating part comes in. Yeah. So she'll like follow her stuff all day. And then binge eating says, nope,
just kidding.
Too much.
Yeah.
And
You're
then that takes over.
Okay.
And like being able to see them as different parts, not in like a multiple personality thing, but just, oh yeah, I do have this part that follows the meal plan and does the things. And then this part at the end of the day comes in. What is it protecting me or providing me for or with? And why is that so familiar to me? When I get to that little part of me, I can say, wow, I've never really learned how to decompress at the end of the day, which is basically what the binge eating is providing for her. So now I can have compassion of like, wow, like I don't know how to do this. And binge eating has protected me and provided a false sense of decompressing. So now that I know that decompressing and maybe some comfort is what I need, how can I now provide that for myself through other means that aren't out of alignment with my goals or hurtful?
Got it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, a lot of this you guys have already heard, but this podcast is really a step by step. So you might even want to take some notes. So say that you are binge eating in a moment. Okay. What we want to always do is recognize that moment. Mm-hmm. So mid binge, I want you to think about, and again, this is if we want to replace binge eating.
That's what I was going to say. Can we,
what else things would you replace?
I would say like over exercising. Mm-hmm. Like if I constantly want to go back to exercising, or if I constantly want to go back to eating less and eating, like restricting my calories. So taking opposite ends of the spectrum, or if I go back to, I just can't work out. I'm not going to work out. I can't do it right. So I just don't. Yes. So it doesn't have to just be like full on binge. It could be as much as like, I'm going to restrict, and it doesn't have to be like, I'm going to do exercise overtly, binge on exercise. It could be, I'm not going to do it at all.
And it could even be just, I pick apart myself.
Yeah.
It could be, I can't say no to people.
Yeah. Or one of my clients actually messaged me. I was reading it today, but she messaged me yesterday of like, I'm doom scrolling and it's making me feel negative about myself, but I keep doing it.
Yep. Yes. Good. Okay.
So there's your examples.
Write down what the behavior is we want to change.
Yeah.
Okay. So we just gave you a bunch of them. It could be a way you speak to yourself. It could be a behavior.
Yep.
Right. A pattern of some sort. So we want to know it ahead of time. So I want to stop binge eating. Okay. I'm just going to use that.
Could you give him an example for yourself? And I'll give an example for me too. I'll go first.
Go.
Since I've got one. I want to stop comparing my body postpartum.
Okay.
That's a big one.
I want to stop making excuses for not asking for help.
Okay.
I do it all
doing good though.
You've
been doing good.
I know. I do good with you.
Me.
I do good with you. Because you don't have a story about me that I think you have, that I think other people.
So you think.
Shut the fuck up. Now you do.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So we want to know the behavior we want to change or the thought pattern. So mine is, I make up these stories in my head about why I shouldn't send a text for help or a text where I'm being vulnerable.
Okay.
And I do it with specific people. And not you. And I make up a story about them being busy.
Yeah.
Right. Or this last one was, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that causes me to not be able to share parts of myself and be vulnerable with that particular person, which then exacerbates relational issues with that person and other people. So I need to recognize in that moment when I'm doing it. So I need to tell this person something. I'm putting the text together, and then boom, that kind of walking myself out of it starts to happen.
Out of sending the text.
Correct.
Okay.
And this happens probably once a week where I delete it and walk away. I don't send it. Okay. And so I will say, she's really busy. They don't care. They don't want to hear it. Even if you tell them this, they don't give a shit. They're going to think it's about you. That's the thing that just came to my attention, that people think that I make things about me, when in all reality, it was like situations where I was so anxious to make the other person feel special that maybe my anxiety was being read as making it about me, which probably the hardest thing to like talk someone out of like, no, dude, I don't think you realize what's going on in my head of like, how do I make this better for this person?
Yeah.
But
like what?
Yeah. So boom, I need to know kind of the behavior and the trigger. So what's happening, right? And maybe for like binge eating, what just happened, right? So in this case, what just happened was I received information from someone, and I wanted to make sure that someone that is important to me didn't feel the same way. Okay. So we want to describe the situation, what's going on. We want to describe the thoughts.
Present situation.
Correct. describe the thought or the
Mm-hmm.
behavior and the behavior that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to binge eating, I have started eating these. I saw this on a client's, you know, so I'm talking about tracking this morning.
Ooh.
Trader Joe's Valentine's gummies.
Oh, not even. Come on, client.
So describe the situation, thought, feeling, or behavior I just did.
Uh-huh.
Right. Or I'm doing.
Yeah.
That would be even better, that I'm doing. So in my case, I'm starting to talk myself out of sending this text. I'm making up excuses for this person to why they don't want to see my text. So what would be one for you on that?
For me, it would be I am deciding that my body is like I'm the anomaly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody else got their shit together postpartum and their bodies look wonderful by 2 months. It's me that has the issue. I don't want to share it because then it makes me vulnerable because it feels ridiculous. And then it's also like, well, what do I do with my calories? So then I should cut them and restrict them and go into the weight loss phase. And I start to kind of spiral with that and keep it internally.
So I'm hearing two things. So we have the control aspect of things. So that's behavioral, right? So I'm going to go into this restrictive mode to control. Then the thought is, I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. Everyone else is doing more than me.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What feelings do you feel in that moment?
Anxious and overwhelmed.
Anxious and overwhelmed. So the next number 2 is, where do you feel anxious and overwhelmed in your body?
Like in the back of my throat.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Whereas I feel that kind of helplessness in my chest.
Yeah, you're
right?
Big chesty.
I am chesty or throaty. I feel like. So the next question is, how does this feel in my body before, during, and after? Our bodies are so good at keeping the score for what we're doing. There's an actual book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it keeps score. And it's going to be, for some people, the biggest tell of something's going on, where when I feel this, it feels like stress.
Yeah.
And as I talked about, like, tension needs attention. So that lump in your throat, that thing in your chest, the irk in your stomach or the pain in your stomach, we need to give it attention. And sometimes it could be the first thing that you notice. And then we can,
rather than the feeling.
Correct.
You feel the sensation rather than like, I feel anxiety. It's like, oh, my throat.
Like, oh, there's that feeling. Right. So then we want to pause and we want to get curious. Okay. What is it about? So for you, why am I trying to fit this mold? Or what is it about being in this current body that is troubling to me? Or for me, why do I not press send? What is there? And we're not saying like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right. Because if I'm coaching you and I'm like, literally, you did fail, like you totally fucked up this weekend, like what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
fire you.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was like, well, what's going on? Like, what do you think was happening there?
Yeah.
So for you, what do you think? Why is this need to control and look a certain way at this point?
Yeah.
Why do you think you feel that way?
Well,
what is that providing you?
The feeling, what is it providing me?
Or keeping you from?
For me, it's providing me a sense of control and something I can control, because I can control my calories, which would then hopefully control my body. Although sometimes that's unrealistic, because right now, so much of my life is not in control. Like I'm not, like I have podcasts 9 to 2 or whatever that we do. And that's the only thing that's in my control. Right. Whereas, but like when I'm sleeping, it's not in my control. When I'm feeding, when I'm eating, when someone else is eating and feeding is not in my control. And
so then we're creating a sense of control, but tell me why it's always around your body.
Because it's always been my body. Like I could always control my body. I could always control my, like, exercise and what I put in my body is something that I have full autonomy over. And so therefore that is my, like, that's my default of when I feel out of control. These are the 2 things I can control. Therefore I do.
And when you feel like more like needing more restriction, needing to control your body more, how old does that feel?
How old?
How old do you feel when you're in that space?
12.
12 years old. Why?
I don't know why. I don't know why. I just
Okay.
like that was the number that came to my head right
Okay.
away.
So number 4 is
What is
get
that, middle
curious.
school?
Ask yourself those questions.
Okay.
Why is this happening? What purpose might this be giving to me right now? Or what is it having me avoid? How old do I feel in this moment? So the next question is,
wait, what about you?
Okay. So I already know mine. So
Okay.
when I get curious, why? Well, when I don't think that this person wants to hear me. I think this person already has a belief about me that I'm never going to talk them out of. In my old friendships, there's been this my own and also maybe some truth. So it's my own story, which is number 5, which we'll talk about, that they still see me in this negative light and I'm never going to be able to walk out of it. And they don't care.
Okay.
And so how old do I feel? I feel like I'm 4 because when my mom really had a hard time with listening to me and giving me space, she would make it about herself.
Okay.
Right. Whereas I want to explain to my friends, and for this situation, there's been actual conversations that make me feel like it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
So then I'm protecting myself from being vulnerable and then being rejected.
Okay.
Right. So the protection is rejection. And then a feeling is like 4 or 5 years old. And the story. So this is number 5. So number 4 is get curious. Okay. So why do I do this? What might this be protecting me from? Or what is it going to have me avoid or keep me from? How old do I feel when I'm feeling this way? And then number 5 is what story am I attaching to this? Okay. I always fail. They don't care. I'm not good enough. Right. The story we attach to whatever it is the biggest, once we learn that and we're able to walk out of that, the entire situation will change.
Yeah.
So my story is people won't take care of me. It's not safe to be vulnerable.
I'm not heard.
It's never going to be enough.
Yeah.
It's never. And that's what I feel like. It's never going to be enough. Like I've gone to the point of this story to be like, what if I'm just not friends with these people anymore?
Yeah. So, mine is more so of like, I should be further along. I know better. I could hack this better. I should show people more. Like the value is in what I know in here and then using the outside to prove it.
Do you ever make up a story that people are expecting that of you?
Yeah.
I do that too.
Yeah. Like I should, because of my knowledge, the expectation would be that I should be further along in a different body, looking a different way.
Yeah.
And then essentially, if I can give myself these results, I can give you these results.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. So what story are we attaching ourselves? Trauma is not what happened to us. It's a story we made up about what happened to us. Right. And so you went to 12 years old. So now we're going to go number 6. Like, when have I felt, thought, or acting like this before? So why 12? What happened in 12? And why is your 12-year-old self kind of screaming?
It's 12. I'm trying to think of it. So I was 9 in 3rd grade. What is that? Middle school? I'm guessing. I'm guessing because middle school is when you start to you're not in play mode anymore.
Well, your body started coming out of your control.
Yes.
You probably got your period then?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So body's coming out of control. You're not in play mode anymore. So and then I think there becomes also a divergence between boys and girls, whereas before it was like everybody plays together.
Yeah.
And then it also becomes a divergence of like hot and not.
Yes.
And boys made it known who was hot and who was not. So I think that part.
Did you not feel enough?
No, yeah, I definitely didn't feel hot. I felt not.
Yeah. So your 12-year-old self is feeling not.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on to that.
Holding.
So for me, I've already kind of touched on this. So you'll see it we kind of blended it together because we already know kind of what the breakdown is. But I mean, I felt this way all the time.
Yeah. Well, since 4.
Since I was, I think since I could remember relationally interacting with my mother I can't say that. I remember little bouts in preschool because we used to do these walks. She would walk me to school and walk me home from school, and we like have these connections. So actually maybe 6, because that's when my grandmother died. And like my mom lost her brother to an overdose, her mom to cancer, and then her great grandmother all within the same like year or so. And then when my grandmother was alive, there was a bad accident. Like there was all these things that happened. So like my mom got fucked up for good reason.
Yeah.
And she didn't have the foundation of emotional stability to get out of that. And I've literally heard my mom say, I failed again when she burnt some rice on the stove. Like that's how
embedded that thought is for her.
Yeah. How quick to failure her brain goes. So I think like 6 of just constantly wanting to share my needs, share my reality, but not doing it.
So I got a question for you. What would you tell the client that's like, I don't know at this point? They're like, I don't know how old I was.
No, guess.
I would, well, and mine, like,
they know
because
guess.
It like,
just give me a story.
Yeah. Well, and it comes to mind pretty quickly.
Yeah. Try.
Or I would say, stop what you're doing because you might be doing something else.
Yeah.
Like you're listening to this, kind of taking notes, but also like thinking about something else.
Dinner tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Try.
Okay.
Try. And the notes I have here are reflect on a similar experience and go as far back as you can remember with the same feelings. One of the things I'll have clients do is close your eyes. So you're going to hold on to the things we just talked about. What is the behavior? What are the feelings you feel? What are the thoughts? And what is the story you're connecting to yourself? You're going to close your eyes and allow your mind to just connect to an earlier time you felt the same way. And your brain will do the fucking work for you. Boom, boom, boom. And it may not make sense to you. Write it down. The thing that comes up may not make sense. Write it down. I've had some amazing fucking meetings. I'm thinking of my client, male client, where we did this because he had this fixation on his fear of being hungry.
Oh,
but he's also struggled with anorexia. Yeah. It's very interesting how this all manifested. And with this curiosity, he realized that his mother would not allow him when he was a growing boy because she had her own eating disorder, eat more.
Oh,
even though he was hungry, she would withhold food because he had enough. Because in her mind, she didn't want him to struggle with his weight like she did.
Yeah.
So she'd withhold food from him and he'd go to sleep hungry and wake up like being obsessed with needing to eat again. And mom's trying to save him from whatever she thought being in eating more would caused him to be fixated and fearful of being hungry.
Plot twist there, huh?
And the interesting thing is, then he gets into this fraternity that the Rush was very abusive and actually was here at U of A. There was actual criminal charges.
Yeah.
And they withheld food from him there. Then he went into medical school and residency.
When he was rushing, did he put the 2 and 2 together?
No.
Okay.
No. This is all
like segmented.
Yeah. Then in medical school, and all this feeling of not having enough food or like being restricted food caused him so much anxiety and fear that he then began to control his food religiously. Okay. And he created these very disordered behaviors around food where he would not eat a certain amount and then he'd like binge all his calories at night. And so he realized in medical residency, same thing. He'd be in
working,
and he'd be restricted food, and it caused him all of this anxiety and need for control. And we were able to, what we did, you guys, for that was we started at the most current behavior and worked our way back.
Yeah.
But we use that. It's called a float back. I wouldn't suggest doing it if you have like mad trauma. If you want to do something, if you do have some big T's, I would do that in a therapist's office with a trained professional. But if you are
who specializes in
trauma, right?
Yeah.
If you are someone who, just wants to kind of figure out, why does food feel so comforting to me? And we don't have big T trauma. So sexual abuse, physical abuse, war, natural disasters, loss of a parent. And it's more of the little T's, which is the little, trauma by paper cut trauma, whatever,
Yeah.
then do it. You can try this on your own. So reflecting, using that, then, okay. So coming back to you.
Okay.
12-year-old Amanda.
Yeah.
Did she have a nickname?
I would go Mandy, maybe. No,
Never would I ever call you that.
Yeah, fuck no. Please don't.
God, don't ever call me Chrissy.
Ew.
Gross. Or everyone's like, Christine. I'm like, that's not my fucking name.
No.
Don't call me Christine. It's Christina. Or you can call me Chris. That's fine. Not Christine. So 12-year-old you doesn't feel good enough compared to her peers. Yeah. Her body is changing. She's going through her period, right? And maturing.
Yeah.
So she's out of control of that. Would you say that's correct?
Were
any of those things a part of something that she failed at? Or is it natural?
Natural.
Right. It's natural what happened to her.
Yeah.
So if we can look at her who's screaming to you right now, like, help, I feel like I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. You know that she didn't have any control over her changing body and kind of how her peers put her in these categories. So could you, instead of feeling like a failure and being critical to her, have some compassion that she feels that way?
Yeah.
So that's
like hugging your younger self.
Yes. What is it, when we can look at, wow, this was a pivotal moment in my life. And I felt, my body was changing. I'm going through these hormones. And then I'm like put in the not category of my peers. I keep saying colleagues, peers. That had to be really hurtful. When you think about that 12-year-old you, what do you feel?
Sad.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah.
Right. And when Olivia's 12 and sad, will you call her a failure?
No, you're going to make me cry.
That's great.
No, I would never call her a failure.
Will you try to put her on a diet?
No.
Okay. No. Will you make her try to change her body in any way?
No.
Okay. Then why are you doing it to yourself?
Because I'm different.
No. No. Sorry, you're not special. Yeah. So with that said, number 7, compassionate care, what might the moment behavior be asking you to notice about yourself?
So what would yours be asking? Would you be upset at the 4-year-old you, 6-year-old you?
No. Yeah. She needed someone to be like, I hear you, let me show you, like, let me help you.
Yeah. Tell me what's wrong and let's see if we can solve it together. Yeah.
I believe you. And tell me what's wrong. Like, let's figure this out together. And so for me, I needed someone to just listen to me and say sorry for being so scary all the time. That created the inability to talk, to apologize for making it seem like everything was my fault. Right. Cause then I didn't ask for help because I was the problem. Fault,
yeah.
And that's what I feel like with these friends. Like, I'm the problem.
Right. So I have to fix me.
Right. I have to fix me. And then even if I try to fix me, which I have been for years, still not enough. Right. And I'm kind of associating that with these particular people, even though I shouldn't do that. I know that part.
Right.
So little me needs to say, and that's the funny part is I can reach out to you. I can reach out to say Camilla, right? I can reach out to Angel, which is funny because we had that friendship kind of part and then we came together and now we're just so much more like vulnerable, and that feels good. But the other people, I still can't do it, And so just being able to say like, it's okay. I'm going to create space for you. And that's going to have to take a conversation with that person to like tell her that intimacy, like this is what I do. And I want you to hear that. And it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But we need to figure out a way so that I'm not creating that story that you're going to be like my mom and withhold love from me because I need something from you. Because that's what it is. Withholding love because I'm human.
Yeah.
And needing. So
we're having a therapy session.
I've already worked on this therapy. Okay. So number 8. If I approach this with self-compassion, what might I say about the moment and behavior? So we kind of already touched on this. It's okay to feel this way. it's okay to be tired at the end of the day. I think with my one client who's struggling with binge eating, like she has all these mad expectations on herself and then she doesn't do anything at all.
It's too much.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and I told her, I said, even when you're doing good, as she says, I go, number one, we need to stop fucking saying that. Mm-hmm. This isn't good or bad. You've been with me for 6 months and we're still in that mindset. Yeah. I'm doing good. And she said, well, it's everything. I'm doing everything in alignment with my goals. I'm like, yes.
But with it, like, there's a statement behind that statement.
This is good. I'm good.
Yeah. So therefore it should be, it's like, no.
Well, and that's where that restriction fatigue comes in of like, okay, I'm done being good now.
Right.
Especially for someone whose 4-year-old self thought she had to be perfect and put all these expectations on herself. And she needed to get all the good grades. Even her parents told her, like, why are you so hard on yourself?
Yeah. I've been there.
Yes. Well, she was the only child for 8 years.
Oh, fuck.
So you fucking only children, man.
I know. That's Michael's like, nope.
Then number 9, what's the kindest interpretation of the situation? So now we come back to the behavior. Okay. Maybe they were busy and not ignoring me. Mm-hmm. So that would be mine. Or trying to meet a need in the best way. I'm trying to meet this need of not being able to relax in the best way I know. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying there is interpret the situation of, oh, the food and the binging is the way my brain currently knows how to decompress at the end of the day.
Okay.
And so for me, not sending the text is what my brain knows is the best way to keep myself safe mm-hmm. instead of feeling rejected. Mm-hmm. For you, what is it?
It would be trying to control exercise and calories is a way for my brain to try and make my body more comfortable for myself.
Yes. Good. Yay. See, this is good. So then number 10 is, because again, remember, we have that logical part of ourselves. So mm-hmm. we have little part of ourselves that's kind of giving us an insight to like why this is happening. And then we have logical part of ourselves and being able to tap into her and say, okay, if decompressing is what I need, what is the healthiest way or the next smallest step that I can do to begin to decompress at the end of the day where binge eating is no longer necessary, mm-hmm. right? And for me is, what's the next small step I can do to ask this particular friend, what her interpretation of me asking for help is. I think that's a big one. Yeah. Like that would be a small step. Like, how do you interpret when I come to you with, hey, I want you to know X, Y, and Z. Like, what do you make up about that? Like, what's your reality? Because then I know that's a small step for me. So what would be this next smallest step to get your need met logically and in a healthy way?
I think this is going to sound silly, but just taking not a step back, but like a pause moment mm-hmm. instead of irrationally going into in spiral mode is to recognize it's happening, pause, take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm. I would say an affirmation would be helpful then too.
Yeah. Or a walk.
I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
This is exactly where you need to be mm-hmm. and having that acceptance. Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, and I'm on what I'm doing now is in align with what I'm trying to do. Or what I'm doing now is in align with a long-term sustainable thing.
Right.
And part of what some of my goals are with having a child too. And I also want to say for myself, I came out on the other side without trying to manipulate things.
Mm-hmm. Which feels uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right. So good. Do you notice when you talk about it, you pull?
Well, it's because honestly, I'm a little hot. Oh,
but why did you put the thing on?
Yeah, no, it's pregnancy hormones or postpartum hormones.
Oh,
and then my shirt feels tight and like.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like,
is it because I'm talking about it and that's just
some
how
people
I feel?
Will body check and like do things. Like you'll see me like do this, and that's like
your like coping
skill.
Oh, really? No, yeah. I maybe.
Yeah, there's body checks.
Let me think about
it. I just know that from like eating disorder when I'd like go through like trauma work. Mm-hmm. You'd have a lot of the pillows here.
Really? Yeah.
Right. Or like the pulling of the clothes and just, yeah.
Maybe. Anyway. Well, now that you brought that to my attention, let me think about
Focus on it. All right. So let's go through the steps. Step 0 is first knowing what we want to change.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it could even be an addiction. It could be an addiction people who are on drugs, if they can start looking at that drug compassionately, even though, yes, it could kill them, they're going to see what that drug has provided them. So recognize the behavior we want to change, asking for help, binge eating at night, feeling the need to control through diet and exercise. That's 0. Number 1 then is recognizing the moment, what's happening now or what just happened, describing the situation, your thoughts, your feelings, and the behavior you just did or that you're doing. Number 2, what is our body telling us? What does this feeling live in our body? Do I feel stress in my trap muscles? Am I feeling a gnawing in my stomach? A lot of times when people binge eat, they'll feel like a gnawing in their stomach, and the food provides kind of that relief. Oh, yeah, it's true. Or they'll feel anxiety in their belly. So what am I feeling? What sensations do I feel? Then we're going into emotional experience. Take all of the information you just had. What's happening? What are my thoughts? What are my behaviors? And where is it feeling in my body? That's going to give you your idea of what emotion you're experiencing. Then we're going to pause. We're going to get curious instead of critical. We want to understand why. What is it? Why might I be turning for food during this time? What story, number 5, am I attaching to this about myself? What narrative is coming up? I then take that narrative and I say, where in my life have I felt, thought, or acted like this before? Try to go as far back as you possibly can. Then you're most likely connected to some younger version of yourself. And just like Amanda would never speak to her daughter the way that she speaks to herself, we're going to speak to ourselves with compassionate care. Learn the unmet need, learn the boundary that's been crossed, learn whatever sense of connection or love we need. Then we're going to approach ourselves with that compassion and find the smallest step to achieve that unmet need in the moment with compassion and care. So again, for me, it's having that conversation with my friend to actually hear her reality. The funny thing is, as I'm talking about this, I'm doing the same thing to her that I feel is being done to me. Yeah. Right. And so I want to hear like, hey, I've been struggling with a few things. In my mind, I make up this whole narrative that you don't want to hear it, or you're too busy, or you're not going to believe me. I want to hear your truth. And then we do that. And all this is doing is connecting you back to the self, right? We're connecting back to all of our parts instead of trying to avoid them. We're saying, I today exist as that younger wounded version of myself, the logical version of myself, the out of control and in control version of myself. And I'm learning how to kind of bring all those parts together to, live in me instead of finding things to live outside of me and disconnect from me. That's it.
Broke it down.
Booyah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys took notes on this. If you liked this information, make sure to follow if you haven't already so you don't miss any of our episodes. If you're feeling generous, make sure to give us a 5-star rating and review, or share this with someone who could benefit from this podcast. These steps are so important in creating a relationship with your authentic self rather than this external validation that we often do or external means of protection that we see. If you'd like more tips, behind the scenes information, check us out on Instagram at the Mindset Matter Coaching or fitbyamanda.az, or on YouTube at Mindset Mirror Connection Podcast. And once again, this is another episode that reiterates this one very thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.